y'all, I'm the Southern Ma'am, but all my friends call me Tisoma. Wool in Minecraft is a useful resource for crafting fabric items like beds and banners, but also for building, as the 16 colors work well in texturing and gradients. However, many automatic wool farms trap our cuddly friends in tiny holes for a lifetime of bad treatment. Well, to me, that is sheer nonsense. Let's design not one, but two versions of an ethical wool farm where we still automate the shearing process, but allow our sheep to live wool-wonderful lives. What do I mean when I say we are making an ethical farm? When I think of large-scale industrial farming, I imagine a farm that is attempting to produce the largest quantity of product in the smallest space at the cheapest cost. In contrast, an ethical farm would value stewardship over scale, empathy over efficiency, and kindness over cost. In industrial farming, the goal is to keep the animals alive for continued production. However, in ethical farming, we want the animals to not just survive, but thrive. I've broken down each of these ideas into 3 needs. For animals to survive, they need sustenance, food or water, shelter from the elements, and safety from predators. In order to thrive, the animals also need space to roam, social interaction with their peers, and stimulation for their mind and body. Remember, Minecraft is a game, and your game ethics might be different than your personal real-world ethics. Play your way. But I'm excited to share with you my versions of an ethical wool farm, and I hope you'll consider building your own version in your Minecraft world. We'll account for all 6 of these needs in our farm design. The first thing we're going to do is mark out a 16 by 16 square. You can make the build larger if you like, but I like to make my designs constrained within a single chunk. Now it's time to mark out the foundation of our farm. First, we need an 8 by 8 square platform in the center where our wool collection will go. Then we need a 3 wide pathway around it for our copper golems. The colored wool on the sides are optional. However, this is where we're going to place our sorting chests. So I laid out colored wool to match what will be sorted into each chest as a visual reference. Finally, in the front, we have 2 copper chests with a hopper leading into each one. Building our foundation directly into the ground means that our final farm floor will be 3 levels above this. Therefore, if you would like your final farm level to be at ground level, you should dig this out 3 blocks down at the beginning. Later, I'll show you what both methods might look like in your world. We start by placing double chests along each of the colored wool with stairs above so that the chests can open. On the inside, we place stairs above the copper chests and fences or another solid block on top of that. That way, the copper golems can access the copper chest but cannot jump over and escape this area. We also add some lighting like lanterns or even torches here in the front as well as around the back. We will mirror this system on both sides, so we will have a copper golem on each side sorting out the wool. They will pull unsorted wool from the copper chest and correctly sort them into the regular chests along the side. All we need to do is put one of the correct color wool in the chest, and the copper golems will be able to filter the wool correctly. No redstone required. Copper golems can sort up to 10 chests, and we've chosen to use 8 here for several reasons, partly due to the size of our farm and for the ethics of not wanting to overcrowd the sheep. Partly because there are 16 wool colors in Minecraft, and with this setup, we could make 2 farms and have a sheep of every color. Of course, you could have multiple chests of the same color if you're really trying to stock up. You could have different colors on each side and have them sorted in a loop, where all the wool went to this guy first to sort his colors, and then add another copper golem back here to transport items just from one copper golem to the other, and then this guy would sort different colors to the end. That process is not much more complicated, but it does require more resources and it's a little slower in sorting. However, if you'd like to make a looping copper golem sorting system, I'll leave a link to my tutorial in the description. I always like to make sure that even the underground parts of the farm are accessible for maintenance, so I added double doors in the back and fence gates along the sides. Now that we have the copper golem area sorted out, it's time for the wool collection area. We added another layer on our 8x8 platform in the center to make it 2 blocks tall. Now we're going to add a track for a hopper minecart along the entire surface. Here in the front, we added 2 extra planks so we could make that descent down to the hoppers and back up again. You can see where we replaced some of the planks with redstone blocks and powered rails to keep that hopper minecart moving. A little editing note, when I was testing this again, the minecart was having trouble getting up this slope, so I did add another powered rail on both sides, and that seemed to fix the problem. So as you're building, go ahead and double up the powered rails. The hopper minecart will be able to collect the sheared wool from the level above and then deposit it as it scoots over the hoppers here, which then will transfer them into our copper chest. Now it's time to cover everything up. We're going to put a layer of blocks on top of our entire copper golem sorting area. Now I'm using moss on the edges just for the aesthetics, but we definitely need mostly grass blocks so our sheep will have something to eat. Then we'll add a layer over our rails. I'm doing the same thing, adding moss along the edges, and then I'll fill it in with grass, but you could just use all grass. When we get down here where the rails angle downward to the hoppers, we have to be careful not to place the blocks too close. For example, we can put a block right here over top of the angled rail, but then our minecart wouldn't be able to get through. So we just need to make sure that this layer is one above and the same here. And so at the end, we have this little extra jutted out area. And that covers over our entire platform. A simple fence around the outside will keep our sheep safely contained. We built this example farm above ground, so our wool collection chests are easily accessible at the ground level. If we'd like to access the sheep level, we can build a small staircase and some fence gates here along the front or anywhere along the outside. If you dug 3 blocks down at the very beginning and built your farm underground, then the sheep would be at ground level and you could put a fence gate to access them anywhere along the fence line. However, your wool collection chests will be below ground. That's where our back door comes in handy. We could simply make a little staircase down to the back entrance to our farm and on the sides put in access tunnels to our wool collection chests. Our sheep will need shelter as well as a place to be shorn. So we will build an 8x8 platform over the center of our farm directly over the minecart rail system. We're building it just 2 blocks above the grass level, which will make it work for either farm design that we're going to show. We're going to use this base design to make 2 different farms that shear the sheep in different ways. Our first shearing method is powered by sheep feet. In each of the 4 corners of our grass platform, place 4 dispensers and 3 pressure plates, and inside each dispenser, place a pair of shears. As the sheep walk around, they will step on the pressure plates and be sheared. Their wool will then be collected by the hopper minecart below. Our second shearing method is powered by sheep eating. We're still going to use 16 dispensers, but we're going to remove the middle of our roof and replace them with the dispensers facing downward, and still place a pair of shears inside each one. Then we'll head to the roof for some very simple redstone. First, we'll place a redstone dust on the top of each dispenser. Then we'll place down a lectern, a comparator, and a calibrated skulk sensor with the purple crystal line touching the comparator. On the lectern, we'll place a book with 15 pages turned to page 8. Page 8 corresponds to the sound of eating. So if we eat this baked potato, You can see that the sound was picked up by the calibrated skulk sensor and activated the redstone, which dispensed our shears. If there had been a sheep underneath, it would have been shorn and the wool would be picked up by our hopper minecart. Instead of us eating to activate the sensor, the sheep will eat grass and the sound will trigger the same response. Both of these wool farm versions are ethical and effective. The pressure plates are a little cheaper, and so this version is great in the early game. The calibrated skulk sensor requires a visit to an ancient city, and so is a little more expensive. However, this farm has slightly better rates. It would be easy to start with a feet-powered farm and convert it to a feeding-powered farm later in the game. Time for the best part, decorating and seeing our farms fully functional. For our farm here with the dispensers and pressure plates, I just added cobblestone along the top to enclose the space in and then hung banners as decoration. I also added a glass skylight to allow plenty of natural light into the space. We have food and water dispensers, pumpkins and melons for enrichment, and even a guard llama to protect the flock from wolves. For our other farm, I used a similar shelter design. I didn't put a roof on top, but I did add some lights to prevent mob spawning on top and around our fence. There's a tree and a well just for decoration, as well as the necessary food and water and a guard llama. One extra addition to this farm is a baby sheep. Now that we can keep babies forever with the golden dandelion, this will increase our rates. As you can see, this is an eating machine, and this baby is eating a lot of grass, triggering our dispensers each time. While it can't be sheared, if there's an adult underneath, they will be sheared. And this will increase our rates of triggering our shears with the calibrated skulk sensor. With the addition of the baby sheep, I believe this farm has a little better rates than the one with the pressure plates for wool production. We didn't forget about our copper golems working hard underneath the farm. I've added a little bit of extra storage in the back, and then some spaces for them to relax when they're off duty, like a recliner with a television, a jukebox, a cozy reading area with a coffee pot, or a couch and furnace for cooking up some snacks. Overall, both of these ethical farms provide for the needs of our sheep while still allowing us to collect and sort our wool effectively. Well, what did you think? All's wool that ends wool. I hope this video inspired you to make your own beautiful wool farm. Good Lord willing and the sun still shines, I'll see you again in the next video. Thank you kindly for watching and bless your heart.